Hey everybody, welcome! So today we're talking about the power of personalization and customer experience. The reason that I'm so passionate about customer experience is the fact that we are making people's lives easier and better. And the entire business world now realizes that the only way to differentiate your brand is to reduce stress for your customers. Very few companies do this well because I bet everybody standing around us right now has had a recent terrible customer experience they could share with us. Hopefully not on this trip in Vegas, but we are all customers and we know what it feels like to have an incredible customer experience, and we know what it feels like to have a customer experience that falls short. So today I am joined by some incredible IBMers, Justin, Catherine, and Pierre. And we're gonna kick off today with Justin. Justin, why is personalization more important now when things are so crazy and uncertain out there? Why is it more important now than it has been in the past?
Well, I think the big thing is that it's no longer a nice to have, it's a have to have. Customers have never had so many different choices, and it's so easy to switch to different providers. So organizations need to do personalization, otherwise they won't have any customers. And the old adage in terms of the cost of getting a new customer versus actually retaining customers has never been so true. So organizations need to do personalizations and really treasure those relationships that they have with their existing customers. In terms of why it's never been so true now, it's a funny world at the minute. Organizations are under so many different pressures, not least in a recessionary, inflationary environment, huge focus on cost. And as you'll read in our paper, we unpick personalization to say that organizations need three capabilities to provide personalization: content supply chain, CDP and the associated technologies to really get to know your customer, and also intelligent commerce. And I think this resonates with the pressures that people are under. Content supply chain, well, that's all around efficiencies and driving cost out. And intelligent commerce, well, that's the moment that you make personalization have value for the customer and have value for your organization as well. So those messages, I think, align very nicely to the pressures that customers are under now.
I like that you use the word treasure, because I like to say that customer experience is this incredible treasure chest, and it's sitting outside in your garden, and every day you walk to work and you don't see that treasure chest. But for those of us that see it, the returns are incredible. So in the same vein, Pierre, what are your thoughts? Why is personalization more relevant now?
I think it's relevant because that's what our customers expect. I mean, the strategic advantage of companies today is no longer through just the products that you offer. They're through the experiences that you extend to them. And the personalization and experiences that our customers expect are not just, hey, let's personalize with just your name or an offer. It is truly personalizing the entire brand experience. It goes well deeper into the supply chain itself. It's the ability to provide a customized policy or a personalized policy. It's about personalizing how you want to define or design a product that you need. So I think where companies need to go is not only in personalizing the marketing communication, which everybody's been on that journey for a long time, right person, right offer, right time, but it's got to be the right experience. And I think it's truly the competitive advantage, and that the companies that will personalize their experiences, that will set the mark and the benchmark for those experiences, are the ones that are going to win. It's just a necessity, as Justin said it. It's no longer an option, it's a must.
Yeah, customer experience and personalization is not a nice to have, it's a need to have, and it has to be on the top of every business strategist priority list.
Absolutely.
So Catherine, over to you. Let's talk about personalization at scale in the near term and long term. What are your thoughts on how to do it well and what those priorities should be?
So I think one thing that's really obvious to everyone, that it's really complex. It's a complex ecosystem that all of our clients are living in, and the place that you really need to start is, in our paper we talk about that the first two pillars are about customer experience, so responsibility for customer experience from the top, and then upskilling people within the business to have that really laser focused view on the customer. So where we like to start with personalization at scale is building out a golden thread. And so a golden thread is a user-centered kind of end-to-end experience map where you might look at it from the lens of creating a marketing campaign, so all the way from like your creative to your analytics. Mapping that out not only focuses you on the user or on the customer, but it also helps surface all the things that you need to do in order to kind of enable personalization at scale. So that's data, really important, unified customer profiles. That's your analytics. It's also your people, your processes, your tools. So getting started, you've got to be hyper focused on the customer. But then you're going to see, and it varies for every single business, what you need to focus on. And maybe you're really stuck with your data, or maybe you have your great data, you just don't have analytics and actionable insights.
Today I had the pleasure of sitting in on a session with IBM and Albertsons all about data. And as a customer of Albertsons and downloading the app, it's incredible how much work goes into those customer insights for Albertsons to provide me an incredible experience so I can feed my 2 little kids. Let's talk about customer experience and operations. I think the business world is starting to understand that customer experience is really an operations discussion. We have to operationalize these things into how we do business, or they will not stick. So Pierre, back to you. How would you recommend our audience start operationalizing personalization today?
I think Blake is a great point. Everybody agrees that personalization is important. It's not a strategic challenge. It's a how-to challenge, right? So Catherine started talking about customer ownership. If you don't have a chief customer officer in your organization, maybe not with that title, but at least with that function, you will not be able to deliver best-in-class customer experience. I mean, it has been proven. I'm working with Discount Tire, for example. The chief growth officer, his title is chief customer experience officer. That's how important customer experience is becoming. And we're seeing that evolution in the marketplace. So you've got to institutionalize that function, that accountability, and that responsibility. And I do believe that without it, it's like people are pointing fingers at each other. It's like, well, I think you own that, right? And so when you have a customer owner, you have a roadmap. And when you have a roadmap, as Catherine said, you can execute on that roadmap, on that vision. 2 is you've got to have your data connected. You cannot personalize experiences without data and without analytics. It's simply impossible. The human mind cannot do it. So if you're not leveraging analytics to drive personalization, you will not be able to do it. Number 3, it's not just about Adobe. Adobe can drive a lot of the value, but you've got to connect Adobe with other stacks in your organization. Your supply chain has to be integrated with Adobe, because as we talked about, it's not just about personalizing the communication. It's about personalizing the entire experience. So you've got to build an ecosystem where all your stacks are connected. And finally, the last point, personalization truly requires new ways of working. It is not enough for marketing to own personalization. It is not enough for commerce to own personalization and the experience. All of these groups have to own personalization, and all of these groups have to work together. So when we talk about horizontal ways of working, meaning I gotta bring in my marketing, my sales, my supply chain, my call center, my IT, my data, all together in cross-functional pods. Without that ways of working, without an agile ways of working, it's very difficult to implement personalization and really continuously evolve your customer experience. So hopefully, these are the lessons that we're learning from our clients, and these are the challenges that we're helping them solve. And I believe it's kind of working it one improvement at a time, one step at a time, and really building that roadmap to kind of progress it.
Pierre, one of my favorite examples of what you're talking about, extreme ownership and operationalizing customer experience, is Peloton. Peloton kicked my butt during COVID after I had a baby and was trying to get back in shape. Do we have any Pelotoners here in the audience? I know we have Brian here's a runner. All right, so Peloton to me is one of the best examples of personalization because they provided this incredible experience where, does anybody remember what it was like to ride a spin bike about 15 years ago? Very boring, very ineffective. You don't know how hard you're working. Half the time you don't like the teacher or the music. And so now Peloton, you can actually choose what content you like. And for me, Peloton was a game changer. I forever gave up my gym membership. So back to you, Catherine. Let's talk about operationalizing customer experience, probably the hardest thing that anybody in this room will ever have to do. What advice do you have for our audience that really want to do it well?
I think Pierre talked about this, but it's ways of working. You have to upskill the people who need to have the data in their hands. So people need to be able to get the data out and to be able to get actionable insights out of it. That's absolutely key. It's also it's ways of working and visibility across creating these personalized campaigns. And we've talked a lot, specifically on this booth, about enterprise work management, about work management systems of record, so specifically Adobe Workfront, how everybody in the business, so the people that Pierre was talking about, supply chain, finance, marketing, creative, everybody can see the process, everybody can see how these campaigns are performing, and that helps us to then create better and better experiences for our customers.
Yeah, I think that is one of the challenges I hear about a lot. Like, what do you do when you work at a company where people hoard data and they compete and they don't share? It's a big problem, especially in healthcare specifically. Let's talk about how we guide our clients through these experiences. Justin, I know you live in Spain, but you're all the way here from Spain, so I know you have some incredible advice you thought about on the plane. Tell our audience from that long airplane trip, what advice do you have? What are some of the things that have worked for IBM clients that you think we could all benefit from?
Well, 3 top tips from my perspective from the lessons that we've gained with clients. Number 1 is to have a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's not just about, experimenting, how can we do some targeting in a different way, but have a really big business challenge that you go after. You mentioned this session on Albertsons. They had some great, big, hairy, audacious goals. Mm-hmm. They faced the threat of Amazon coming into the grocery market, and they didn't just want to survive, they wanted to thrive. So that was one of them. The second is their business was completely transformed through COVID, where suddenly people couldn't go into stores. They had to do it digitally. So Albertsons had to shift to be able to satisfy surging demand online. And the third is they've actually combined both their ad tech platform and their MarTech platform in order to create a seamless, personalized experience for their customers. So they're 3 great examples, like a big, hairy, audacious goals to go after. So that's number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 is to think Adobe Plus. So for example, Adobe Commerce plus IBM Sterling Order Management in order to manage the supply chain. Because what's the point in giving a customer a fantastic offer and then saying, oh, soz, we don't have that in stock, you can't have it. It's
Right.
poor.
Right.
Think Adobe Commerce plus Zora in order to provide subscriptions. We talked about the ease for customers to be able to switch to different brands. Well, hey, treasure them and actually, look after them and send them what they want, in a regular fashion. Or, think Adobe Experience Platform plus IBM Weather Data. I think a lot of organizations are thinking how they can use data from within their organization. But wouldn't it be cool if you can start getting data and insights not just from within the walls of your organization, but outside as well? So there are plenty of examples in retail, insurance, and other where weather data would be valid. And then thirdly, it's all about the people in a transformation. So how do you bring those people along with you, especially as Pierre was saying, when they're across different business units? Within IBM, we use enterprise design thinking to design around the human-centered outcome, be it a customer or an employee. And I remember working on a project where there was this huge, great big guy called Dave, and he was a tester. And Dave had been a tester for 30 years, and Dave was good at testing. And we were doing these empathy maps with him, with personas about Dorothy and understanding her lifestyle and what she wanted. Dave was not interested. Halfway through the project, there was one playback where Dave jumped up and he said, Dorothy wouldn't do that. He'd taken on the persona of Dorothy so much. And I think that's a brilliant example in terms of how you can bring the people along with you on the transformation. So number 1, big, hairy, audacious goal. Number 2, Adobe Plus. And number 3, be more Dave, people.
I love that. Thank you so much. So one of the things that I often think about as I do this work is to find the worst thing about your customer experience. How many of you working for companies know the one thing that customers just hate about doing business with your brand? You know what it is. And I bet everyone around you knows. All of your colleagues know. So take that number 1 customer mood killer and start to chip away at it slowly, 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 one step at a time. It's just about doing the best you can that day. All right, so Catherine, over to you. Let's talk about Adobe Experience Platform. Let's talk about personalization at scale. We're going to geek out a little bit on technology right now. Can you just talk about what's new about the platform and why it's relevant for everybody sitting here?
So Adobe Experience Platform, enables the collection, management, and actioning of your data, and it's hugely powerful. We heard somebody this morning say, there's nothing else in the world that can do this. And so when we're thinking about Adobe Experience Platform, we're also thinking about the app services. So real-time CDP, Journey Optimizer, Journey Analytics, and those combined together are just so powerful. We're talking about kind of how to take our clients on the journey and why all of this is important. And it's important because you need to be able to get access. I keep saying the same thing, but you need to be able to get access to your data. Those insights are critical. Our customers are telling us stuff everywhere. And AEP can pull in the data from, what you've done on their website to the store visits to social media to call center, absolutely everywhere. AEP will bring together all of that data in a unified customer profile so that we can actually action it. Amazing. I want the businesses that I give my money or my data to tell me, oh, we know you, because personalization, helps build trust, and that's so important, and every single experience matters. So we have to be able to action this data, and there's no other platform that can bring it all together in a manageable way, and then integrate with all of the other, not just Adobe, but a lot of the Adobe suite to be able to, put that into campaigns and also make those campaigns shoppable with Adobe Commerce as well.
So speaking of e-commerce, one of the things I had to do before I came to Vegas is figure out what I was going to wear. And I know everyone here, I don't know how much effort you put into figuring out what you were going to wear, but for me, it's a big effort. And so I went to Bloomingdale's and I asked Bloomingdale's, what should I wear? And through the styling personalization offered by the app, they told me to wear this bright fuchsia suit, and I bought it. And it was expensive, and Bloomingdale's loves me. Unfortunately for my husband, he's really frustrated by my relationship with Bloomingdale's. But the thing is, these tools work. Personalization, making customers' lives easier and better, works. And now there's so many amazing stats that it actually does work and move the needle and help you make more money. So in closing, we're reaching the end of our time together, and I know we all need to go get drinks now, but before we do that, each of you, give me one closing thought about why does this matter, and what can these folks sitting here, what can they do starting tomorrow to put personalization to work? We'll start with you, Justin, because you're sitting next to me.
Yeah,
lucky guy.
Blake and I had a bit of an awkward moment, actually, that we turned up and we were wearing the same outfit. So I had to go change, so you didn't have two of us in a fuchsia fit suit. When we think about personalization, it's often around marketing, revenue growth. It's the sexy stuff. Actually, personalization is not just that. There's a great example where we're working with Scottish Government, powering their transformation using Adobe technology, and it's all around helping disadvantaged citizens get access to benefits. What a cool, project and use case to really drive personalization, making it super easy. And this is, super, super important stuff. This is allowing them to get money in order to put food in their children's mouths. So, when thinking personalization, don't just think about the sexy stuff, but think about all those other use cases as well that are equally valuable for the organizations and their end customers or citizens as well.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. Catherine, how about you?
I think for me, it's that sense of urgency, because personalization is an imperative. Personalization is what builds trust, and it's never been easier for you to switch your bank account, switch your internet provider. I can do all of those things online in a couple of clicks. I don't even have to talk to somebody on chat. So if I have a bad experience, I'm going somewhere else. Or if I just feel like maybe something is doing it a bit cooler, I'm going somewhere else. So it's the urgency. You have to focus on your customers. You have to personalize those experiences, because the rest of your competitors aren't waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Trust matters more than ever. Do your customers trust you? Pierre, over to you, lastly.
I love the urgency. I love the examples. I'm going to balance that with a little bit of a longer perspective on why the experience matters, right? The experience matters because it's a new strategic context for us to where your business is going. It's not just about products, but there's a saying I've been sort of preaching to a lot of the CMOs: experiences begets other experiences. When you define that greatest experience, it opens up potentials for you to add on to that experience. Think about Amazon. They started with online retailing. They got into enabling retailers. They got into the cloud. They got into content. It wasn't based on, oh, I'm going to add more items, not just more items to my website. It's about fundamentally expanding that network of experiences that we bring together. So in closing, I would say, think big. Think big about what the experience should look like, because that definition of that big experience, when you get there, it's going to open up a whole bunch of other experiences for you, and it's going to become a compass for you to really grow your business. So,
I love that. That's so great. Well, everybody, thank you for your patience and for your attention. I wish you a wonderful rest of your time in Vegas, and we'll see you next time.